My name is Ann Holmes. I'm 33, and I used to believe the quiet one could keep a family from cracking just by holding her breath. Mom called 2 weeks earlier with a sweetness that made my molars ache. Come early, she said. We'll celebrate. She didn't say what. She never does. In our house, celebration is a fishing net, thrown wide enough to catch whatever Natalie does next. Ethan, my boyfriend, the kind of steady that turns worry into weather, was rinsing coffee cups when I hung up. It's just dinner, I told him. We'll leave early if it turns weird. He smiled without showing teeth. So, we'll be home by 8. Mia heard the word celebrate from the living room and danced in with a sticker stuck to her cheek. 5 years old, pockets full of paper stars and unspent kindness. Will there be cake? She asked. At Grandma's, always, I said, because there was always cake for Natalie, her husband, their kids, frosting tall as a promise. The rest of us got edges. Saturday felt like a damp towel all morning. Mia wore a yellow dress with a bow so emphatic it looked like it had a point to prove. Ethan buckled her in, handed me the box of pastries we'd picked up from the nice bakery because your grocery store stuff tastes like cardboard, Mom once said, and I still can't unhear the smile she wrapped around those words. We parked on the street. Dad says the driveway is for family cars, which somehow never includes mine. The lawn was clipped short, the porch spruced with red geraniums, set dressing for a story that always ends the same way. Inside, the air smelled like lemon cleaner and roast, conversation too loud in the next room, laughter rising like steam. Mom came toward us with a hug that stopped an inch from contact. You made it, she said to me, glancing past my shoulder as if someone taller was supposed to be standing there. Then she dropped her voice for Mia. Oh, look at you, sunshine. Ethan held out the pastry box. We'll see if there's room, Mom interrupted, already turning. Shoes off, please. Floor's just waxed. At the entryway table, there were name tags. Big block letters written in a practiced, cheerful hand. Mom, Dad, Natalie, Jason, Uncle Ray. Even Coach Tim had one, though no one can remember how he got into our family's bloodstream. Then my eyes snagged on the small, white rectangle waiting by a paper plate the size of a suggestion. MIA, limited guest. I thought I'd misread it. I blinked hard and looked again. The same letters stared back, clean, decisive, like they'd been measured with a ruler. What is this? I asked, my voice landing softer than the question deserved. Mom didn't look up from rearranging forks into a fan. Oh, don't overthink it. Just a system. We had to plan plates. Little ones nibble. Ethan's jaw flexed. He stepped closer to see. Limited how? Mom finally smiled at him the way you smile at a barista who spelled your name wrong. Half portions for under 6. It's not personal. Natalie drifted by, caught the tag with her eyes, and leaned toward me as if we were sisters in on a joke. That means no shrimp, she whispered, breath sweet, voice light. Jason chuckled from behind her. Their boys, paper airplanes in both hands, repeated the words, no shrimp. And the repetition turned into laughter, that family kind that's always a little bit at someone. Mia read the letters her kindergarten teacher had just taught her to sound out. Mit Ed, she said slowly, then looked up at me, checking my face for the meaning. Something small inside me stood up. It wasn't anger. Anger is loud. It splashes. This was a quiet thing with a spine. Dad clapped my shoulder like we were teammates. Don't sulk, he said. Plenty to go around if you behave. Mark, Mom caught herself. The old name for the role I used to play, the son I never was. She corrected. Anne, don't make a scene. I didn't. I never do. That's the miracle and the tragedy of me. I swallowed hard enough to feel my heartbeat in my throat and squeezed Mia's hand twice, our code for you're safe. Ethan moved to the side table, put the pastry box down with care, and took Mia's tag between 2 fingers. He didn't peel it off, he just held it, like you'd hold a thorn to look at it closely before you decide what to do. We walked deeper into the house. The dining room had a whiteboard leaning on a chair, arrows and numbers and confident words scrawled in Natalie's handwriting. Family equity, investment, launch. I didn't fully understand the map, but I understood the direction of every arrow, toward me. Annie, Natalie sang, already in pitch mode, slicing the air with a spoon. Wait till you hear this. In a minute, I said, surprising myself. Ethan flicked his eyes toward me, a question and a promise. He'd follow my lead. He always did. From the kitchen, Mom's voice. Ladies first, and then laughter because she didn't mean me. The living room was bright with impossible friendliness. Aunt Cheryl patted a spot on the sofa like she could invite me into belonging with upholstery. Uncle Ray was already 2 stories in. Coach Tim said something about hustle, and Jason poured himself sparkling water like he'd invented bubbles. I scanned the coffee table and saw the folded cardstock place cards labeled Prime, Standard, Limited, as if dinner were an airline and we'd shown up with the wrong ticket. Come on, Mia, I said, keeping my voice even. Let's find your seat. Mom shepherded us to the kids' table. Tiny chairs, a paper tablecloth, crayons lined in a row like soldiers. She set the limited guest tag in front of Mia's plate with precision that felt like malice disguised as order. Next to it, 2 apple slices blinked up at me from a saucer. Dinner soon, Mom chirped. Please make sure the limited guests don't touch the shrimp, she added, louder, so the room could hear. The room did. Laughter rippled like someone shaking a rug. Mia touched her tag, cautious, like it might buzz. Do I have to wear my word? She asked. I crouched to her height. You don't have to wear anything that hurts, baby. Natalie clinked her spoon against a glass. The talking stopped mid-breath. She flashed that smile that has always made adults forgive her homework and strangers hand her free samples. Okay, family, she said, sweeping her arms wide as if she were welcoming a crowd to a TEDx stage living room. It's time. Ethan stepped back behind me. A quiet wall. I felt his presence like a hand at the small of my back. Family Equity Hub, Natalie announced, pointing to the whiteboard. We all put in, we all own it. It's not just a business, it's a legacy. Dad's name gets us the best lending. Mom runs front of house. Jason's got marketing. Anne handles finances. She's so organized, it's basically her love language. Another laugh. Seed is small, just 30. 30? I asked, though I knew the answer. I just wanted to hear how casually she'd say it. 1,000, Mom supplied, proud as if she'd taught me to count. Ethan let out a quiet breath that wasn't quite a laugh. We can do 20 now, 10 next month, Natalie continued, rolling momentum around on her tongue like a candy she wasn't going to swallow. Friendly paper, founder's terms, and to make sure we're aligned. She gestured at the place cards. Prime, Standard, Limited, Machine. People love structure. Mom's eyes flicked to Ethan with a warning. Don't ruin this. Ethan looked at me, not at them. What do you want? He mouthed. I looked at the table with the 3 tiers of belonging, at the whiteboard that redrew our family into arrows and percentages, at my daughter's small hands folded beside a plate that had already decided her appetite. My own name wasn't on a tag, but I knew where I was supposed to sit, wherever I could reach my wallet without standing up. The old me, the one who kept peace by keeping score in private, started to speak. It's just dinner. We can talk later. Don't ruin it. But a newer voice, one I recognized and didn't, said, They already ruined it. You're just noticing. Let's eat, Dad boomed, stepping into the center like a master of ceremonies. Prime first, then Standard. Limited at the end, so they don't fill up on the good stuff. The joke landed with the kind of laugh that looks like unity from the outside and feels like a bruise from within. Mia's eyes followed the parade of plates. Shrimp gleaming like punctuation, roast sliced thick, potatoes buttered to a shine. When a bowl came near the kids' table, Mom swooped in. Careful, she said, and put the bowl back with the others. She raised her brows at me like a teacher catching a student copying from the wrong column. Ethan Bent spoke softly. We can leave. Not yet, I said, though I wasn't sure who I was asking for permission. My mother, my fear, or the part of me that still thought good daughters absorb hunger and call it love. I reached for Mia's tag. It didn't fight me. The adhesive gave easily, quiet as a secret. I turned it over, set it face down on the tablecloth. The word disappeared, but the mark it left didn't. Natalie, spoon raised again, reclaimed the room. Okay, Cornerstone, she sang to me, a nickname she invented for my backbone and misused like a credit card. 30 today locks the deal. Dad says you're in. Mom touched my elbow just once, the way you touch a thermostat. Don't waste everyone's time with anxious questions, she murmured. Trust is the term. A year ago, I would have made a joke to dull the edge. A month ago, I would have asked to see the deck, to tidy the lies and soften the numbers and cover the gap with my own money because it was faster than saying no. Today, the room's brightness made my eyes water. Today, the letter L on that tag looked like a small, upright spine. Today, something in me moved. Not a flare, not a fight, just a bone quietly clicking back into place. "Anne?" Dad prompted, smile tight. "Don't embarrass yourself over a plate." I looked at Mia, at Ethan, at the whiteboard that pretended we were arrows, pointing toward a shared future and not straws stuck into the same glass. I pressed my palms flat against the table to feel something solid. My heartbeat slowed until I could count it. 1, 2, 3. "I'm not embarrassed," I said. And for the first time in a very long time, I wasn't lying to myself. When people ask how it got that bad, I never know where to start. Because it didn't begin with a name tag or a business pitch. It began with small math, the kind that hides inside love. At 22, I co-signed my sister Natalie's first car loan because her credit was still young. She promised to refinance it in 6 months. She didn't. When she missed 2 payments, Mom called me. "The bank doesn't care about excuses," she said softly, as if responsibility were a compliment. I covered the balance before it hit her record. When I asked Natalie for the money, she laughed. "Anne, relax. It's circulating. Money's supposed to move." I thought of it like rainwater, but it only ever seemed to rain one way. At 24, I moved into my first apartment, 600 square feet of quiet and rent I paid by tutoring kids after work. My parents didn't visit. "We've seen plenty of small places," Dad said over the phone. "You'll upgrade when you grow up." That same month, Mom sent me a photo of Natalie's new condo view. "She's thriving," she wrote. 3 weeks later, I paid the HOA late fee on that same condo because Mom said, "It'll look bad on the family's name." At 26, Ethan and I married at City Hall on a Wednesday. We sent invitations. Mom texted the morning of rain. They didn't come. That night, I got 2 messages. From Dad, "You should have chosen a Saturday." From Mom, "We'll do a bigger celebration when Natalie's back from her yoga retreat." Natalie posted photos of herself on a beach captioned, "Recharge mode." The next day, she asked to borrow $200 just until Friday. I sent it. It was easier than explaining disappointment. By 28, I had a spreadsheet, not for budgeting, but for remembering. Dates, amounts, reasons, promises. $1,100 for car registration. $387 for rent shortfall. $640 for business prototype. The total passed $8,000, then $12,000, then $17,000. Every time I mentioned it, Mom said, "Don't nickel and dime your sister, we're family." Dad said, "Real adults don't keep score." Natalie said, "It'll all make sense when the product launches." The product changed names 3 times, first a fitness app, then a meal prep service, then a hybrid wellness community, which I think meant a gym with smoothies. When Ethan asked, "Why do you keep helping them?" I didn't have a noble answer, because they'll be angry if I don't. Because peace feels cheaper than conflict. Because I was raised to believe generosity was proof I belonged. Thanksgiving that year, Mom served Natalie the larger turkey leg. She slid the smaller one toward me. "You don't need more," she said. Christmas came. Natalie's kids opened drones and electric scooters. Mia unwrapped a coloring book labeled Ages 3+. She was 5. When I got a small promotion, same pay, new title, Dad said, "Titles don't feed a family." 2 days later, Natalie posted a picture of a borrowed watch with the caption, "Grinding pays off." Dad shared it, writing, "Proud of my girl." Ethan saw me scrolling through the post that night, silent. "You don't have to keep proving you're good," he said. "I'm not proving anything," I lied. One night at 2:11 a.m., I woke up and couldn't breathe. Not from panic, from arithmetic, rent, daycare, groceries, gas, and another text. "Hey, sis, can you float me 400? Literally stuck at the pump." It was Natalie again. I put the phone face down. The next morning, Mom texted, "When you're a parent, you'll understand. Emergencies all day." I typed 3 drafts of a reply, deleted them all. Later that night, Dad called. "What happened to you, Anne? You used to be generous." He sighed long and heavy into the speaker. "Don't change on us." He didn't know I already had. quietly, imperceptibly, like a bridge rusting from the inside. When Mia was born, Mom had put her hand on my shoulder in the hospital. "Now you'll finally understand sacrifice," she said, eyes already turned toward Natalie. "You'll be a great aunt," she added to her, beaming. Natalie winked. "I always am." The years blurred into requests, dressed as favors. Coach Tim says if we raise $5,000, the gym will put Natalie on the flyer. Exposure, you know? "Can you put a new laptop on your card? I'll Venmo you when the investors reimburse me." I stopped checking for paybacks. I started checking my own temperature, how angry I could feel before I went numb. Then came the project. Natalie called it Family Equity Hub. "We all put in, we all win," she said on a video call where I was the only one taking notes. Mom clapped her hands like someone watching a sunrise she planned. "Your sister's building something historic. You'll handle the finances, right, Anne? You're so good with numbers." Good with numbers meant able to disappear inside them. When the group chat launched, Family Fund, Real Talk, every dollar sign had my name next to it. Aunt Cheryl was praying. Uncle Ray was networking. Coach Tim sent a flex emoji. Natalie sent a spreadsheet of projections with color-coded optimism and zero revenue. I sent $750 just to show good faith. Then $1,250 for a bridge payment. Then $2,000 to close this week. Weeks kept closing without ending. By spring, the total in my real spreadsheet read 123,080. Ethan watched me stare at the number. "Does she know you're keeping track?" I nodded. "She thinks it's cute." He said, "You can stop." I said, "You don't stop being family." He didn't argue. He just took my hand and started circling dates on our calendar. Weekends he called ours. Holidays he called optional. "But guilt has long arms," Mom called, voice syrup sweet. "Anne, honey, Natalie's presentation is next month. She's almost there. We want to celebrate early, family style. You'll come, won't you?" I hesitated. Ethan shook his head from across the room. "Sure," I heard myself say. "It'll mean a lot," she said. "And bring those fancy pastries. The kids prefer them." That's how I ended up standing in that bright kitchen 2 weeks later, holding a box of croissants, staring at a tag that told my daughter she was limited. If you've never stood in the family you were born into and watched them label your child less, I hope you never do. That tag was just the last receipt, the one that finally balanced the ledger, because it didn't start with paper. It started with silence. And I was done paying in silence. It's strange, the moment when resentment turns into clarity. It doesn't roar, it hums. Quiet, steady, like a power line you didn't notice until you're standing right beneath it. After that dinner, Ethan and I didn't speak much on the drive home. Mia fell asleep in her car seat, clutching her stuffed rabbit, a tiny half-eaten cookie still in her hand. The house lights blurred behind us like they were melting. Halfway down the highway, Ethan said softly, "You know, you don't have to keep letting them do this." "I know," I said, "but what I meant was, I don't know how not to." When we got home, he carried Mia upstairs and tucked her in. I stood in the kitchen, staring at the pastries we'd brought, untouched, still perfect in the box. I didn't throw them out. I couldn't. They were proof. For a week, I waited for someone to call and apologize. Instead, Mom texted, "You embarrassed your sister at her big night. You made your father uncomfortable. You're so dramatic lately, Anne. Maybe take a break from that man. He's changed you." That man, Ethan, the one who stayed up late balancing our budget so Mia could keep her art classes, the one who reminded me birthdays don't have to cost $200 to count as love. He looked at the messages and said, "That's not love, that's control with emojis." I almost laughed, but it came out shaky. I typed back to Mom, "We're fine," then turned my phone face down. The silence that followed felt like peace at first. No calls, no guilt, no group chats about Natalie's launch. But silence has an echo, and it starts to sound like maybe you should apologize. I busied myself with work, fixed laptops, soldered loose wires, replaced cracked screens. There's something soothing about fixing things that don't talk back. People always thank you when you hand them back something that works. My family never did. Ethan watched me, hunched over the table one night, a circuit board under the lamp. He said, "You look calmer when you're fixing something." I said, "That's because things make sense when they break." He nodded. People should come with instruction manuals. A month later, Natalie posted a photo online. New chapter. In the background, Mom and Dad stood behind her, smiling, holding a banner that said Family Equity, Grand Opening. I stared at it until the screen went black. I hadn't been invited. Ethan leaned over. You okay? I think they launched without me. He shrugged lightly. Maybe that's the best launch you've ever had. That made me smile, the first real one in weeks. Then, on a gray Thursday, a letter arrived. Bank of Midland. My name, bold, at the top. I tore it open. Another reminder that Natalie's car loan still had me listed as cosigner. 90 days delinquent. I called her immediately. She answered on speakerphone. I could hear laughter, clinking glasses. Anne, long time, she said. You missed payments again. Yeah, I'll fix it. Don't stress. I already got the letter. She sighed dramatically. Ugh, you always make things so heavy. Can't you just relax? Behind her, someone said, Tell her to calm down, Nat. Then laughter. Then the line went dead. I stood there, phone still to my ear, listening to nothing. Ethan came over and took the letter gently from my hand. What now? He asked. Now, I said. I stopped pretending this is temporary. A week later, Mom showed up at our door with her old spare key. I hadn't seen her since the dinner. She didn't even say hello. Just walked in like she owned the air. You've changed, she said first. You used to help. You used to understand family. I do understand, I said. I just don't want to be your accountant anymore. Her eyes narrowed. Your sister says you froze the transfers. I did. You're making her struggle. She's 31, Mom. She's building something. And I'm rebuilding myself, I said quietly. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. That man has poisoned you. I almost laughed. If you mean Ethan, he's been my antidote. She blinked. If you're not going to apologize, don't come Sunday. I wasn't planning to. For a moment, I saw something flicker in her expression. Not anger, but confusion. Like I'd suddenly started speaking a language she'd forgotten. She left without another word. Ethan came out from the hallway, drying his hands. She's gone? Yeah. You okay? I nodded. Just untethered. He put an arm around me. Untethered sounds like freedom. 2 weeks passed. No calls, no letters, just quiet. Then one night, while Mia was drawing at the kitchen table, I caught her humming. She had a sticker sheet in front of her. Stars, animals, letters. She peeled one off carefully and pressed it to my sleeve. It was a small blue heart. What's this for? I asked. So you don't forget you're loved, she said matter-of-factly. It hit me then, the simplicity I'd been complicating all my life. Love wasn't supposed to feel like debt collection. I walked to the counter, opened my laptop, and pulled up my old spreadsheet, the one where every number was a receipt for silence. Then, line by line, I deleted it. It didn't erase what they owed me. It erased what I owed them, the endless proof that I was enough. The screen went blank, and for the first time, so did the noise in my head. There's a kind of peace that doesn't come from forgiveness. It comes from exhaustion. That's what I felt in the weeks after deleting the spreadsheet. I wasn't angry anymore. I was done. But endings don't stay quiet in my family. They echo until someone kicks the door back open. The first ping came from the Family Equity Hub group chat. Natalie. Soft relaunch this weekend. Everyone come support. I didn't reply. Then Mom. Anne, please at least show up. Your father says it's time to move forward. Then Natalie again. Bring that organized energy of yours. Ethan read over my shoulder. Do they think last time didn't happen? I sighed. They think it happened to them. He said, we can ignore it. But ignoring a Hale family event is like ignoring a fire alarm. It gets louder until you go check the smoke. So I went. The house looked the same. Banners. Balloons. Too much perfume and laughter that felt rehearsed. The whiteboard was back, rewritten with new buzzwords. Family as brand. Mom greeted me with a hug that was 90% choreography. I'm glad you came, she whispered. Let's not make a scene this time, okay? Ethan's hand found mine instantly. We'll stay a bit, he murmured. Natalie spotted us. There's my favorite investor, she sang, coming over in heels that clicked like punctuation. I'm not an investor, I said. She winked. Yet. On the table were new place cards. Prime, Standard, Limited. My daughter's name wasn't there this time. There was just a blank space. Progress, I guess. Natalie held up her champagne flute. Okay, family. A quick toast before we finalize funding. Ethan and I exchanged glances. Funding? I mouthed. He shrugged. Natalie tapped the glass. As you all know, our first round didn't go exactly as planned, but this time it's airtight. We just need to lock down a small bridge. 30 to 50, total family contribution. Anne's our cornerstone. The room turned toward me like I'd stepped on stage. Mom smiled too brightly. Dad's jaw twitched. Jason nodded like a cheerleader. I didn't move. No. The word was soft, but it cut through everything. Natalie blinked. Sorry? I said no. No bridge, no more loans, no more family equity, anything. The silence after was the longest I'd ever owned. Dad set down his glass. Anne, don't embarrass yourself over money. Mom's voice sharpened. Don't take that tone with your father. Natalie laughed lightly, trying to keep the air light. Come on, sis. You know we always make things right. I looked at her, really looked. She had Mom's smile, Dad's entitlement, and my old habit of never saying sorry. I know, I said. That's the problem. Ethan's fingers tightened around mine. Natalie rolled her eyes. If you can't support your own family, maybe this isn't your place. I agree, I said. We gathered our things. Mia clutched her stuffed rabbit. Her little shoes squeaked against the polished floor. Mom hissed under her breath. Those portions were planned. Then your plan failed, I said quietly. I took the nearest name tag, one that said limited, flipped it over, and wrote a single word on the back with a pen from my purse. No. Then we left. We stopped at a 24-hour diner on the way home. Mia sat in a red vinyl booth, legs swinging, syrup on her chin. Ethan ordered waffles with strawberries for her. You okay? He asked me. I think so, I said. I'm tired, but I think it's the good kind. Mia looked up mid-bite. Are we still family? The question hit me harder than anything my parents had said. Yes, I said, just a smaller one, but the good kind. She nodded solemnly and went back to her waffles. Outside, rain started tapping the window. The diner lights reflected in the glass. Warm, forgiving, alive. For the first time, I didn't feel limited. By the next morning, the text started. Mom, you humiliated us. Dad, you made your mother cry. Jason, you ruined the vibe. Natalie, you'll regret this. Aunt Cheryl, praying. Coach Tim, Uncle Ray, don't burn bridges. Ethan leaned against the counter, reading them aloud, like bad poetry. You ruined the vibe. That's my favorite, he said. I smiled without meaning to. They'll keep trying until they realize the bridge is already gone. He handed me my phone. Then maybe it's time to stop checking for smoke. I scrolled to Family Equity Hub and hit Leave Group. It felt like pulling a splinter out of my own skin. That night, after Mia fell asleep, Ethan slid a notebook across the table. Write what you want life to look like if you stop playing their games. I hesitated, then opened to a blank page. He said, don't list what you don't want, list what you do. I wrote slowly, carefully. Predictable mornings, savings in our own names, holidays without fights, a home that feels safe even when it's quiet. It looks small on the page, small and holy. Ethan smiled. Looks like a life worth funding. We sat there in the soft hum of the refrigerator and the rain outside, and for the first time in years, my future felt like it belonged to me. Tuesday morning arrived the way it always does. Too bright, too ordinary for a life that had quietly rearranged itself. I made coffee while Ethan packed Mia's lunch. There was something new in our silence. Not tension, relief. Like we were finally breathing our own air. Then my phone buzzed. Natalie. Wire 10K by noon, or you're erased from the cap table and from my life. I read it twice, then laughed. The kind of laugh that sounds like surprise and truth mixed together. Ethan looked up. What now? She finally said it out loud. What? That family has terms. I took a slow sip of coffee and set the mug down carefully, like the gesture deserved ceremony. I'm not wiring a cent. By noon, a new group chat was buzzing. Family emergency. Anne bailed. Messages stacked like firecrackers. Dad, you always overreact. Mom, you've broken your father's heart. Jason, Natalie's devastated. You owe her an apology. Aunt Cheryl, praying. Coach Tim, stay positive, family. Ethan reached over and hit Do Not Disturb. The sudden silence felt unreal. Should I block them? He asked. No, I said. I want to see what they sound like when I stop responding. That night, I pulled out the old shoebox from the closet. Inside were Mia's stickers, folded notes, tiny scraps of love. Tucked beneath them, one final thing. The printed version of my spreadsheet. Ethan sat beside me on the floor. What's that? Proof, I said. Of what? That I was the family ATM. He didn't touch it, just waited. I picked him up the first page and stared at the neat columns. Dates, amounts, excuses. The ink had faded, but the habit hadn't. I tore the page in half, then the next one, then the next. Each tear sounded like paper, but it felt like breath. Mia shuffled into the hallway, rubbing her eyes. Mommy, what are you doing? Cleaning up, I said. Can I help? Sure. She picked up one torn piece, studied it, then whispered, We don't need these, right? No, baby, not anymore. We threw the pieces into the trash together. The following week, the storm hit for real. Mom showed up again, this time pounding on the door instead of using her key. Ethan opened it, polite but unmoving. She's in the back, he said flatly. I came out, drying my hands. You've changed, Mom started immediately. You used to listen. I used to obey, I corrected. She blinked, caught off guard. You think walking away makes you stronger? I think it makes me free. Her tone hardened. Your sister's hurting. She needed that money. Family helps family. I folded my arms. Family doesn't label a 5-year-old limited guest. Her jaw tightened. You're exaggerating. I stepped closer, lowered my voice. I was there. Silence stretched between us like wire about to snap. Finally, she said, If you won't apologize, don't come Sunday. I won't. For a second, she looked small, like she hadn't expected me to mean it. Then she turned and walked away, the door clicking shut behind her. Ethan exhaled. That sounded final. It was, I said. For me, at least. A few days later, a letter arrived in the mail again. Bank of Midland, loan delinquency notice. I didn't need to open it. I knew exactly what it was. Natalie's car. The same car I'd co-signed years ago, back when I still believed responsibility was love. I grabbed my keys. Ethan stood up immediately. Where are you going? To end it. I'll come. We drove to my parents' house, windows down, late spring wind carrying the smell of rain and jasmine. Dad answered the door. His eyes were cold. She told us you'd show up. Then she can come down here. He crossed his arms. You're not welcome here anymore. Good thing I didn't come for a welcome, I said. Natalie appeared at the top of the stairs in a silk robe holding a mug. Well, well, if it isn't the investor who pulled out. Release my name from your car loan, I said. Relax. It's handled. Then why is the bank writing to me? She laughed, the same brittle sound that used to charm teachers and strangers. God, you're so dramatic. Ethan stepped closer, calm but steady. Just sign the release. She rolled her eyes. You're both insane. Dad blocked the door again, chest out. You'll regret this, Anne. Maybe, I said, but not as much as I'd regret staying. I walked back to the car, called the bank from the driveway, paid what I had to, and had them remove my name. Then I texted Natalie 2 words. You're welcome. A minute later, a notification buzzed, her reply. Just an emoji. I stared at it, then smiled. She's predictable. Ethan took my phone, turned it off, and set it on the dashboard. Let's go home. That night, Mia asked, Are we going to Grandma's again? No, sweetheart, not for a while. Because of the bad name tags? Because Mommy finally learned to write her own. She giggled, not really understanding, and that was fine. Ethan looked at me across the room. You feel lighter. I do, I said. Heavier too, but in the right places. He nodded. Weight in the right places. That's how things stand firm. Later, after Mia fell asleep, I sat by the window with my notebook, the one Ethan had given me. I flipped past our list. Predictable mornings, savings, holidays without fights. Then I added one more line. Peace that doesn't need permission. I looked out at the quiet street, the faint hum of the city. Some debts can't be repaid, but they can be released. And that finally was enough.